You hope to find in your research?
Sure. So I'm working on aging of stem cells. I'm looking at stem cells in the airway epithelium in the trachea of mice. And it's a joint project between two labs, Brian Kennedy's lab, who's doing, this is my lab, and we're looking at TOR pathways, one of the main genetic sort of regulators of various processes happening in the cell, including longevity. And it's well known that if you inhibit TOR activity with the drug rapamycin, a lot of different animals would live longer. So the second lab that is working on this project is Henry Jasper's lab. It's at the Buck Institute, and Henry is studying aging of stem cells in Drosophila gut. So they're joining forces to study this object in mouse trachea because it resembles the gut really closely in terms of the stem cell population and in terms of also what's going on, like what kind of genes are, what kind of genetic mechanisms are responsible for stem cell differentiation and maintaining the population of stem cells. So I will be doing a lot of experiments. Like I will be building genetically altered mice to try to answer what happens if we switch on or off particular genes, what will happen to the stem cells, whether they would be whether we would be able to maintain their regenerative capacity or not. So the goal here is to sort of keep regeneration at the youthful level. That's like the end goal.
And what are you going to use to turn on and off the genes?
Well, we'll be using conditional. It's like you have a mouse with a genetic construct in it, and then you add a drug, and then that's when that genetic construct gets activated, and a gene is either turned on or off depending on the actual constructs.
So it'll be drugs that won't be like CRISPR or...
No.
Right.
Well, at least not yet. No, it's first of all you have to because CRISPR is so new. You have to be able to understand what is going on, like really what's the situation, because there's not much that's known about the system that I'm studying. Like we don't know what's happening in the airway epithelium, like how it ages, how it maintains regenerative capacity over time.
And you have drugs that will target specific genes, or you know like how to line that?
Well, we definitely will be using rapamycin and see whether it improves regeneration or not.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe something else, I don't know.
And how long do you expect this?
To go on?
Well, yeah,
like 4 or 5 years. I would estimate this would be the time of my PhD sort of thesis. Hopefully. It probably depends not on me, but on mice.
Everything is sort of, I'm taking a lot.
All right, fair enough.
Some I leave.
Have you got anything, Hervé?
It's just in the general conversation that you have with people who are discovering what you do and what your goals are. How do you respond to them when they ask you how about
Overpopulation?
No, malaria. Fighting people who can't even go that old to be able to fight against aging. Mm-hmm. So. Diseases and all stuff like that, especially malaria is one disease that kills a lot of people, and money is not enough in order to fight. So, if in the West or in the rich countries we take care of longevity and we don't take care of longevity in other parts of the world where it's really needed, at least to attain that threshold where, you're considered as an old person, lifespan in Africa is really like...
Okay, so I'm I'm based on the idea that life is the ultimate value, like human life, that's the greatest thing ever, and it has to be protected. And there are a lot of problems in the world right now, I still think, even though there's horrible diseases like malaria and tuberculosis and HIV and you name it. However, just but judging by the amounts of people that die from age-related causes every day, those numbers cannot simply be compared. And I think that's just, by volume, a larger problem. And I wouldn't like. There's really.
Rowan.
I really don't like this dichotomy between like the Western world and the less developed countries. Well, people are people everywhere, and actually by trying to solve aging, we're actually helping people in less developed countries as well.
Everything, all these
And
you watched, they're all good.
it's
So just
there are additional problems in an imperfect world with really horrible, political regimes everywhere and like in many places, and there's a lot of unfairness. But just because aging kills so many people a day, everywhere. And it's the problem, like if we cure malaria, let's say, and we spend like endless on that, the number of people that would die from aging because we're just shifting our focus to a smaller thing would be far greater. So I just don't think that that kind of loss is warranted.
And are you I feel like everybody who's in this field is either doing it maybe for their parents or doing it for themselves. Like, do you have a...
So I would like to do this for everybody. That's my motivation. I just like people in general. I wouldn't mind. Of course, I would like to live forever, right? And it pains me to see like how my friends have age-related diseases and how they're suffering from them, and how like they would be doing cool stuff if they were able to, if they had just better health, and longer life perspective. And I think just for everybody else, like if you're limited by aging, and you cannot go to college when you're like 70 years old, right? But if that limitation is removed and you're as good as new, if you're feel and you're like as young as you're 20, then that's when you can do anything you want really with your life. So I get this question a lot. It's like the whole thing being selfish. Well, you cannot take the it's really impossible to kind of separate those things, because like if you care about like lives, that's the main goal, like help people. It's just so bad. It's like so many people dying.
Do you think the technology will move fast enough to help your parents?
I'm really hoping that
Okay,
would be
can you say the whole sentence again?
I'm really hoping that the technology will be moving at a pace when it's going to be able to help my parents. But if progress is not fast enough, and something happens and one of them dies, then I would cryopreserve them. For sure. It's the best option in the worst case scenario, I think.
And have you gone through the process to be cryopreserved yourself, or?
I haven't signed anything yet. Well, I just arrived to the States not a long time ago, but yeah, it's in my plans for sure.
Okay, so but we didn't understand what, because we are not taking the questions typically. So as for me, in terms of preserving myself, I haven't done.
Yeah, actually, start beginnings and say, I would like to,
yeah.
if one of my parents does die, I'd like to cryopreserve, and then talk about
Okay,
yourself.
so if something happens to one of my parents and one of them dies, or both of them die, I would definitely have them cryopreserved, and I would do the same thing for me. I haven't done any paperwork or like made any commitments yet, just because I had to deal with the move from Russia to the States, and like once I'm here now, I'm settled. Now I can start thinking about those things, and but definitely I think cryopreservation is the best option in the best action that you can take in the worst possible scenario, like after you're dead. Yeah, it at least gives a chance to have a chance you know, for the future. Because otherwise, if you're like buried, then or cremated, it's just there's no point. There's no way your consciousness would be preserved, and that's the most important thing. And if we come up with a different way to preserve consciousness, I would be totally up for it. Yeah.
So mind uploading.
Oh, sure. I mean, it depends on what's better, what's more accurate, what's actually going to preserve me.
All right.